Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another week of the Varsity Link Coach's Corner on the Shore Sports Network. Bob Adders alongside Scott Stump for another week talking Shore Conference football. We're in between weeks 5 and 6, so really getting into the second half of the season. It's October now. Division titles are coming up where there's some huge games that are going to decide those. Playoff picture starting to round into form. It's an exciting time of the year, and we've got two great programs we're going to feature today. We'll talk with Point Boro head coach Brian Staub, the undefeated Panthers, coming off a huge win over Rumson in week 5. We'll talk to Brian about that. And then later on, Toms River South head coach Matt Martin, the Indians, a 4-game winning streak, first time since 2013. And they are in the thick of the Liberty Division race, another huge game coming up on Friday night at Detweiler Stadium. So, Scott, like I said, week 5, we had some really good non-divisional matchups. So some different looks from some of these teams. We got some interesting results out of that, certainly headlined by the Point Boro Rumson game, which we'll get into. But there were some other ones out there that were pretty intriguing. And, we saw some teams push ahead, stay undefeated. We saw some other teams kind of rise up off the canvas. And, a bunch more teams just kind of set themselves up for a big week 6.
Yeah, it's crazy that this suddenly became this coming week like division title weekend.
Yeah.
I think like 4 teams or 6 teams technically, but 4 games could result in no worse than a tie for a division title for the winner of those games. So we're already to that time of the year. And yeah, like you said, Point Boro, that was the most impressive win of the weekend. Also, Middletown South kind of getting back into form in our other top 10 matchup against Colts Neck. And then you had, Howell getting off the deck for their first win, surprising Manalapan. You had Matawan roaring back into the picture, handing Pinelands their first loss. So you had a lot of teams. You had Ocean struggling and then coming out and surprising Raritan kind of in like a, very even match game. So it's that time of year where there's a lot of games where teams are going one way or the other. Either we're getting the momentum or we're getting the playoffs games, or maybe this season's not going to go like we hoped.
Yeah, it's been a lot of that, where you start the season with expectations, the teams do. We kind of have what we feel like is going to happen. And then there's always a point in the season where it just turns on its side. And it's like, okay, what we thought was left is now right. And you try to figure it out. The Shore 16 has been in flux the last couple weeks. We've had 3 new teams each week, tons of movement. That was the same thing this week, 3 new teams. And, really from 4 on down, we had a bunch of teams changing spots.
Yeah, and the other thing too is a lot of them some of them have been on a collision course. It feels like Jackson and Marlboro, they're both undefeated.
Yep.
One of them is going to get their first loss this weekend. There's a division title on the line in that game when they face off. Toms River South now has built the steam to where them and Pinelands, they've kind of been on a little bit of a collision. That's going to go down on Friday night at Detweiler Stadium. And you have other teams that are just surprising people. How about Homedale? 3 shutouts in a row.
Yeah, the last time they allowed a point was in week 2.
Best start since 2007 after going 1-8 last year.
Yeah.
I mean, they're definitely one of the stories of the Shore when it comes to turnaround programs. They can clinch at least a tie for a division title with a win this week against Ocean. There's a lot of teams that have surprised, mostly though in probably the smaller school divisions.
Yeah.
That's been most of your like surprises, or struggling teams that have really turned things around. Like, whereas in the American Division with Point Boro, with teams like that, they're living up to expectations more than anything.
And then you have a team like Brick Memorial, which you knew the talent was there, certainly at the quarterback position with Connor Dietz. Could they put it together and have a winning season? And they're 6-0 right now. So that's another team where you looked at them in the preseason, you said, look, they have a lot of talented players. They can make a run, and they've lived up to it.
Yeah, and they could be pushing for a number 1 seed. I mean, the last time they won a state title, if I'm not mistaken, was when Coach Staub was running the triple option for the Mustang.
How is that for a segue? So why don't we get right to that? Yes, that was the last time, 2000. That was a great win over Sayreville at Rutgers. I remember that. And I'm sure our next guest does as well. So we're happy to bring in Point Boro head coach Brian Staub. The Panthers, a huge 42-28 victory over Rumson Fairhaven. They improved to 6-0. They're our Jersey Mike's team of the week. The Panthers flying high, doing it on offense in a huge way and doing it on defense as well. So, Brian, first of all, thanks for taking some time tonight and joining us. And congrats on a big win.
Thank you, guys. No problem at all. Love to be here and excited to talk some football.
Your alma mater. We were talking about them. I'm sure you remember that year fondly that day at Rutgers. Was 24-0 over Sayreville, right?
24-0. That was a good time. Good game. Good team.
So a huge win. Obviously, the offense was the story. I got the final box score from you. 523 yards of offense is an insane number. I don't care who you're playing. And the fact that you did it against Rumson just speaks, even highly or higher, I should say, of your offense. When you had a chance to go back and watch the film, what stood out to you as being the most impressive thing that you saw?
I think first, offensive and defensive lines. I know we're talking about the offense, but it was a complete game, complete team win, and that's what we needed in order to beat a team like Rumson. So the O-line played great. They really did. They got a push. Our quarterback, Matt Olafine, had a great day, not just his stats, but reading it and getting the ball to the right guy at the right time. And I felt like we were just clicking on all cylinders, and some of our playmakers made plays in key situations.
And Coach, I think, everyone knows about Matt Oliphant's just devastating ability as a runner. You miss one tackle, the guy's gone 70 yards, one of the best runners in the short conference, one of the best in the state. But I think I was most impressed. He went 7 for 7. He threw 3 touchdown passes, because that's often, I don't know, the knock, or like the when you run the triple option, hey, if your quarterback has to throw the ball, can he really hurt teams? And he did that. I mean, what did you take away from his performance just as a balanced effort, throwing and passing?
Yeah, I mean, that was huge. That was a huge, key to the game going into it, and we're certainly going to need that moving forward as we make this playoff push. But again, I think it started up front, and Matt was comfortable, and the O-line picked up some crazy blitzes. Sometimes they had 6, 7, even 8 guys coming. Our O-line, our fullbacks held tight. Matt bought enough time. Sometimes he was throwing, off that back leg, but just making plays and putting in spots where Samoes or 4-4 or Colin Obser could make a play, and that's what those guys did.
The triple option is just that. I mean, you have your quarterback, your fullback, and your slot backs, your pitch guys. And you certainly use the pitch guys a few times, but it was really, the two-headed monster with Matt and Jake up the middle. So that just, at least to me, that speaks more of just winning at the point of attack and that job the offensive line did. I know you spoke about them, but they've been doing it all year. And this was a group that, you lost Cole Skinner to graduation, who's a massive human being. He's now down in South Florida. And you have to have a couple new guys step in. So how impressive has that unit been, just getting it done each and every week? Like, you have the horses in the backfield, but if the line's not blocking it, no one's going to be able to get it done. Those guys have really stepped up, I thought.
Exactly. And I think people are seeing a program being built. And of course we lost Cole Skinner last year, as well as other talented seniors. So people, I think, weren't sure how, up front we were going to be, but we have guys that we thought we were high on. We thought they were ready. They had a great offseason in the weight room. They have good size. They're not the biggest, but we have good size. I think they have great explosiveness off the ball. Coach Ryan Canary, Coach Kyle Ryan, we get after it on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then that translates to games on Friday. So it absolutely starts with them, no doubt.
And I thought another important aspect of that Rumson game was you pretty much had blown out everyone else you played. But that game was a dogfight. Like, you went up 14-0, they come back. It was a little bit of a counter punch. Like, I guess how important is it to have one of those games? Because I know last year you had the overtime game. I think it was St. John Vianney, like close to the playoffs.
Yep.
But it's like you want to get tested. You want to have to play hard deep into the fourth quarter, because as you get into the postseason, that's what the games are going to be like. So that must have been a good thing too, just to get a real test and see what, how many times have you guys been tied, or, had a team even been able to really take the lead on you later in the game? It hasn't happened a lot, but you guys showed a lot, I thought, battling back when they were kind of counterpunching to your touchdowns.
No, definitely. I think it shows just the maturity and, senior leadership of this team. And, it was one of the keys to victory. We talked about it. We said, guys, if we get a lead, I don't think anyone plays more comfortably from behind than Rumson. And we kind of used the sectional final versus Raritan as a good example of that. Down 17 to start the fourth, absolute no panic at all. We have so much respect for that coaching staff and that program. So, I mean, I don't think I felt comfortable until maybe the first kneel down. It was just we knew we were in for a dogfight.
You guys went into the game offensively, I think, averaging right around 42 points a game, maybe a little bit more, and you scored 42, so you're right there with that. Defensively, I know you gave 28 points, but it was extremely impressive in the way you defended that Rumson passing attack. And I know going back to last season, the one game you guys lost, it's where you got burned, getting beat over the top a lot. So this was a challenge for your defense, and especially your secondary. How impressive was that? And then, I went back and looked through charted plays. Other than the touchdown that Nick Rigby had where two of your guys kind of knocked into each other and sprung him free, they didn't have a completion over 9 yards until that last drive at the end where you guys were already up by, over 20 points and they were airing it out. So how impressive was that just to execute that plan of keeping everything in front of you and not letting them, get behind the defense?
Yeah, I mean, it was super impressive, and our boys played at a high level. We had to get pressure on O'Toole, and I think we did an okay job. He just gets it out so fast, but I thought we made the windows small. We got our hands on the football a couple of times, put them in 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 situations to get our defense off the field. And yet, 28 points is a lot, but that's a real good offensive football team. So just all the credit in the world to our defense coordinator, Shane O'Connor, our scout team on offense all week, and then our boys just executing at our high level.
And just from reading Bob's story, hearing about it, the one thing I really was impressed by too was your demeanor about it. A lot of teams get a win like that. It's like they won the Super Bowl, like this is the greatest thing there. We're celebrating this for 3 weeks or something like that. But it seemed like you guys were very businesslike of A, we might see this team again in the state playoffs, but definitely. Also B, that, our goals are much bigger. This is a great regular season win, but we need to just kind of keep moving forward rather than sort of just dwelling on, how great we played one day.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's what we said. We said, guys, this is a great week 5 regular season win. And that's what it is. And we enjoyed it for, that Saturday. And then it was on to the next one come Sunday on to Manalapan. And, we're not here to win regular season victories. We're not here for division titles or any type of winning streak. We're here for sectional state championships and hopefully an opportunity for a Group 2 overall state title. So, it was a great program win, but at the same time, it's on to Manalapan.
For people around the shore that follow Shore Conference football closely, Matt Oliphant and Jay Croce are very well-known names. So is Charles Boone Davidson, I'd say probably. But you're a very deep team. It's certainly not just a handful of guys. And, you're deep offensively, your slot backs, you have your senior Brian Samoes, your junior Colin Obser, the freshman Jay Clayton. I thought all of those guys have contributed a lot in games. Then defensively, some of those same guys. Obser had a big game. Devin Dewey, Saki. So you guys have a lot of Dylan Reitmeyer as well. There's a bunch of guys kind of playing those, you can call them complementary roles, but I know they're more important than that. So how about some of those guys that maybe aren't the headlines every week, but have been really important to the 6-0 start?
Yeah, I mean, we have 3 juniors on defense, and you name 3 of them. Slade Sammartino, Dylan Reitmeyer, and Colin Obser, who even last year, Slade and Dylan were 2 of our best defensive players, and unfortunately, they both got hurt. So, gaining them back, we felt good, and Colin Obser is one of, if not our best all-around football player. I mean, he does it all. He can play. If we put him at guard, offensive guard, he would be good. I mean, it's unbelievable. So, those 3 are definitely talented football players, and they're a huge part of our success.
And you have one of the more impressive freshmen in the Shore Conference. I mean, Jay Clayton, we know what he did right out of the gate in that first game, special teams, scoring on running plays. He's got to give you some optimism for the future. Obviously, you're focused on this year, but hey, at least when some of these stars graduate, we have a guy who might really be able to step in and fill some of that void.
Yeah, I mean, he's big time. He's as good as advertised. We knew about him. He's been a stud his whole, AYF career, and just his tackling ability. And he's a great wrestler. So, you see that a lot of times with the wrestlers. But he fills the alley at free safety, and he covers so much ground, and he's certainly going to play more offense, each week because he needs the football. And he's just a very talented young football player.
2 huge parts of the win over Rumson. You come out in the second half with a surprise onside kick, and man, that was perfectly executed. Braden Forfar. It was, I remember looking up and like, whoa, they're going for the onside kick. And it was, he couldn't have done that more perfectly. And then after that, the muddle huddle, going to that and running some plays off it. I talked to you about that and wrote about it in the story, but what gave you the inspiration to use that, on something other than a 2-point play, actually, in the field of play?
Yeah, I mean, the first 4-4, I think he's one of the best kickers in the Shore, and he's been unbelievable at extra points. He has a ton of specialty kicks. He finds ways to get the ball on the ground with kickoffs, and when that happens, you have a chance to recover it. So it was something we worked on. We thought, there was a high chance we were going to use it. We were just waiting for the right time. And then with the muddle, Coach Johnson, our special teams coordinator, Dave Johnson, myself, I think in July we started drawing it up on a whiteboard, and we spent probably 2 hours on it. But we view it as an offensive play, and we thought we had the personnel with Jason Bennett, who's one of our safeties. He's our long snapper, so he's an athlete. And Oliphant held last year, so we inserted him. Then the next thing you know, we started putting Croce, Obzer, and Forfar, who's the kicker, is a wide out. So we said, I think we have something here. And we just started repping it up, and we viewed it as an offensive play and something that could present challenges to the defense.
Yeah, it's not too often you see the center with a reception. 2 receptions he had, actually.
That's like one of those double takes at the box score. Like, wait a minute. Isn't he an offensive lineman?
Yeah. Tremendous.
I think another thing is we tend sometimes, because it's a great division, it's filled with a lot of great teams. You start to think of it's the American division and it's everybody else. Yeah. But I thought you kind of like gained some respect for, the next down division of, hey, we went up there and beat one of your better teams. It's not just, those guys and then it's big gulf to the next group of teams. I mean, was that a thing too of I felt like it was just a great win, like as far as gaining more and more respect for your program beyond just group 2.
Yeah, we wanted that matchup so bad, whether it was Rumson or someone, just to kind of prove it, because we hear the things about the schedule, and there's our division is loaded with great teams, but I think everyone wanted to kind of see the Rumson Point Borough game last year. Unfortunately, we didn't finish. We didn't beat Willingboro to possibly make that happen. So it was kind of like a 2-year thing, and we were locked in. We had an unbelievable week of practice, and now we're trying to apply that every single week. But it was a great challenge.
And you send a message, I think, to all of Group 2 when you go out and win a game like that against a team that was a finalist last year. But it seems like you guys, because you have a veteran team, you're pretty comfortable with handling the pressure. You have this long winning streak against the Shore Conference. You're undefeated. But it seems like, yes, you're the hunted, but you've kind of become accustomed to that and been okay dealing with it.
Yeah, I mean, I just think we have a great culture in place, and it certainly took time. It took at least 3 to 4 years to kind of build that, but everyone just embraced their role and to do their job relentlessly, and it's been a relentless pursuit day in and day out to make this program something special and something people can be proud of. So we're just focused on getting better and better, and we're enjoying the ride this year, no doubt.
That phrase you just said, relentless pursuit. I know that's something you guys use a lot. I go back to, I guess 3 years ago when you won the sectional title. I know going into that season, like you guys were just tired of, either having, losing seasons or just being mediocre. And you guys were really chomping at the bit to get back to your winning ways. And you did that. You won a sectional title. Obviously last season didn't end the way you wanted to, but a 9-1 year. What was the driving force this offseason? Because you're coming off 2 great seasons, but still that feeling of unfinished business, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it was really the loss, and I think somebody said one of you guys might have, it just happened so fast that it was just over, and it was such a great team, but Willingboro just played great, and we played okay, and they deserved it. So it kind of just showed us that anyone can lose at any point, and just how important every single day is, and the details, and just to lose on your home field, that was a really tough day. So that's been the driving force all off season. That's going to continue to be the driving force, to kind of just, honor those seniors that, we didn't get it done for them. So we're just trying to finish strong here.
And speaking of home field, I mean, I know you still have 3 games left in the regular season. You have to take care of business there, but the goal is to get that number 1 overall seed. And especially now this season, those, the group semifinal games, if you get to that point, they're not at neutral sites anymore. They're at home. So do you feel like that is a significant advantage for you if you can get to that point where you can have all your games at home until it's, a neutral site game, just because of the atmosphere that you guys have on Friday night is one of the best in the Shore?
Oh, absolutely. And we want that. We want that badly. It's Point Boro, it's a football town, and the whole town shuts down, and whether they walk to the game or whatnot, you can barely go anywhere in town without somebody wishing you good luck. But, we love it. Our student section, the pit, is going to be rocking, going to be mobbed. So I do believe in home field advantage, and our players love it, our coaches love it, our fans love it. So that would be nice to have, and that's one of the main messages with these 3 games left. That guys, it's right there. You win out. We think we're going to be the 1 seed.
My only problem with that is that as a reporter, I have to get to the game like an hour and a half early just to park like a mile of the field.
See, stop. I know the secret.
There's some good neighborhoods back there.
Back there, yeah. I'll give you the directions.
I'm just gonna start pulling up to the neighboring houses and be like, "Here's like $20. Should we just throw it in here?"
Scott's gonna be walking
maybe or park there, and then the day you have to Uber to the game. That'll know we made it. That'd be pretty good.
Hey man, there's some games in the Shore where. Like we were joking, the Rumson RBC game a couple weeks. I was like, he could just, he's gonna have to start walking from his house in Neptune.
Yeah,
you just can't park sometimes. So
that's what we want.
You have a good atmosphere, though, right?
That's what we want. We'll keep building it.
I want to go back to something that Jake and Matt were telling me after the game, and I imagine it's really important that the offense you guys run, you run the triple. It's what you ran in high school. It's what you ran in college at Springfield, correct?
Correct.
And you have it. I think it was Jake said. We run this in the middle school. I'm sure you run it at the lower levels too. How huge is that? Because you get kids coming in where it's such a specialized offense that I feel like when they know the nuances of that coming in as a freshman, you could just hit the ground running a lot quicker.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. And I think there's, 4 to 5 main components of continued success at the high school level, and having a great feeder system, AYF, is number 1. And we're so blessed to have unbelievable coaches and people there, and they'll text me, and now I teach at the middle school, and our 12U quarterbacks tell me about the defense he's going up against, and I mean, it's awesome. It really is, and they come to all of the games, and they're watching Olafon, they're watching Croce, and they want to be those guys. So that's what makes us so excited and hopeful for the future, that we can keep this going. It is an unbelievable AYF program. Our numbers are through the roof for a Group 2. We're going to dress 65 to 70 guys, we think, year in and year out. So we're just trying to keep that going.
Thoughts on Manalapan? Obviously, it's a team and a program that has a tradition of a lot of winning. They've fallen on some hard times. They've lost 3 in a row, but I know you guys are not taking them lightly. So what stands out from Manalapan, things that you guys have to be aware of and maybe concerned with going into the game?
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about the last 10 years, you want to talk about the most consistent program, schools, your Manalapan's in that conversation. So we told them that. I think they have great size up front on the offensive line and defensive lines. I think they have 2 talented running backs. They'll do a little wildcat here and there. I think the quarterback throws a good ball. They have a dangerous wide receiver and return man. He's number 2, Anthony Macchio. We're going there. We know that they need this to make a playoff run themselves. So this is a huge game on Friday night, and they present some challenges, and we're looking forward to every single one of them.
How has the team turned the page now from that big Rumson win and started focusing on Manalapan?
It was a great week. It was, again, just that maturity. And, we told them they're playing such consistent football. You go back to our scrimmages, we scrimmaged North Brunswick, who I believe is 5-0, and Carteret, who's I think 4-1. So we have played an unbelievable 7 games of just total team effort, total football. So we need that to continue.
And what is it like for you guys? We've asked a couple coaches this, competing as a Group 2 school in a division with a lot of bigger schools. That's kind of been a little bit of a new wrinkle this year with the way things got realigned.
Yep.
You guys, Raritan, some smaller schools in there with the Group 4s, in there with the bigger schools. You certainly proved yourself, but how do you look to that, like, challenge that, it's not just schools of your size that you're playing now?
Yeah, I mean, we love that challenge. We thought this, when the divisions and schedule came out, it was going to be a great measuring stick to see where we were at as a program. And I think nowadays, the groups don't hold as much value as they once did. Everyone's kind of dressing somewhere between 50 to 70 guys. Some people are dressing more than that, but we're excited. If you have that football culture and you have a football town, we think you can compete with anyone.
Yeah, so that'll be good when you get stuck in the American division.
Yeah, exactly. It's probably coming.
It's funny how that's like the elephant.
The punishment.
We want all the success, but where are you going to put us next year? Like, hey, People
maybe they can split. Maybe they can. Yeah. Why don't we just split the two divisions out? Maybe something.
Too funny. Again, it's been an awesome season for you guys. Three games left in the regular season. Does it feel like it's gone quick that we're already in October and in week 6?
Yes and no. Colts Neck honestly feels like months ago. And I know it was August 25th, but we were joking, me and Coach Kyle Ryan, that Willingboro felt like, earlier than Colts Neck. So we're just enjoying it. I think that's one thing we learned last year. We were kind of just so tense. We wanted to repeat so bad that I don't even think I smiled the whole year. It was just like next week. So, we're having fun, and I am enjoying it, every single day with this group. It's an awesome group.
Before we let you go, I want you to give the spotlight to some more of the guys in the program. Still about your coaching staff. I mean, it's a really, really good coaching staff at a lot of different positions. You mentioned your defensive coordinator, Shane O'Connor, your special teams coach, Dave Johnson. It's funny, Matt Oliphant referred to him as Dr. J. I'm like, Dr. J. I'm like, who is that? I'm going through the coaches. I'm like, oh, Dave Johnson, who I believe, if I heard this correctly, he owns the NCAA record for longest touchdown pass. He's tied with probably like 1 million people at 99 yards. I think that's true.
Yeah, Kean University. He's the best. He's the doctor. But our staff's unbelievable, and a lot of them did graduate from Point Boro, which I think is so important. So they have that passion, they have that love for this program and this town and these kids. And everyone just has a job. Everyone has a job. There's no egos. Everyone sticks to their job, and then that trickles down to the players. And we tell them, do your job relentlessly, and we're going to be in a position to win the game in the fourth quarter. So we practice hard. I can't speak of other programs, but our Tuesday and Wednesday, we practice hard, and we fully believe that translates to Friday to playing hard.
And then tell us about your hype man. No one hypes up the
Derek Rios. Derek Rios. This is his final year. I don't know, where he's going to college, but I hope he makes a game or two next year when he graduates, because there's no one better than senior Derek Rios. It started in 2021. I don't even know what game it happened, but it happened, and then we kept the tradition alive. So after every game, he gives a quick pep talk, and the boys go nuts. They love it. So I hope we have several of those left.
Good stuff. Brian, thanks a lot, man, for taking some time tonight. Again, congratulations to your team on the big win. And I know you guys are turning your focus to Manalapan, so I'm sure we'll be talking to you a bunch more down the line.
Sounds great, guys. Thank you. You're the best. We appreciate it, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
All right. Thanks, Brian. That's Point Boro head coach Brian Staub on the Varsity Link Coaches Corner. Brian's always great. One of the most – I didn't get a chance to ask him then, how many get-back guys does he think they need? I will tell you what, Brian, like, he is such a mild manner. He's very passionate. You can tell, like, he loves being the coach at Point Boro. But, man, he is into it on the sidelines.
Once the jumping jacks start going and guys' towels are waving, and you're like, is half their staff about to run out to, like, the 50-yard line in the middle of this game?
I'm not getting in Ryan Canary's way.
That's the other thing. That staff particularly makes me feel about 100 years old, because you and I have covered, I think, every player on that staff from when they were playing at Point Boro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dave Johnson's about the only one.
Yeah.
So,
but no, a lot of former Point Boro greats in there, some of their all-time greats on that staff. And it just shows the type of tight-knit community staff that guys want to come back, coach at their alma mater, be there. Now we need to achieve the singularity by having Point Boro play Brick Memorial in the next crossover game. Staub versus Walt Curry.
The simulation breaks.
Yeah, exactly. Just option pitches everywhere.
The master versus the apprentice.
Although I will say, Brick Memorial's not running the pure triple like the old days.
They haven't in a bit, to be honest. Yeah. But yeah, he's still, nobody coaches the triple, better than Walt Curry. I mean, he's, he was doing it at
I don't know. Staub's trying to surpass the master now. He's trying.
Well, you know what? He's true to the original triple.
Like, I didn't diverge from
purebred triple option.
But on the other hand, if you have Connor Dietz, you set up the offense where he can run it
I would say so.
Ability. Yes.
We'll be joined by Toms River South head coach Matt Martin in just a little bit. The Indians with a night practice, so we're going to wait for him to get off the field. But before that, something we've wanted to touch on these last couple weeks, sticking in Toms River. One of the bigger stories of this season has been Toms River East assistant coach April Flory, believed to be the first female coach of any kind, assistant. Certainly, there's never been a head coach, football coach female in the Shore Conference. But you did a great feature story on her earlier. Just tell us more about that. April Flory, just out of nowhere, talked to Kyle Sandberg, and now she's a head coach, assistant.
I think that's the craziest thing. I mean, there's a technicality where Homedale principal Cheryl Swire was technically the head coach during this controversy where the coaches left. So that, but to me, that's not like, she wasn't really hired as a member of the staff and all that. So this is, really, truly, like, from talking to everyone. I mean, I talked to Lou Versillo, who's coached in the Shore since 1972.
You figured he would know.
And, he and a lot of the other longtime guys. So yeah, this is a real breakthrough. And April is a great story because you see a lot of women that are getting into football coaching now around the state.
Yes.
There's more and more teams, but a lot of them are young. They're like 25, 26, like maybe they want to get into coaching as like a full long football coaching career. April's 57-year-old mom of 2. Her daughter is a star on the field hockey team at Toms River East. Her son is a former pitcher for the Raiders. She just approached College Sandberg. She became a teacher there in November of last year, I believe. She's an English and special ed teacher. She just went up and said, I want to be part of the community here. Like, I want to help this program any way that I can. Just kind of took a chance. It was at their May meeting where they're getting things organized for the coming season. And, a lot of people probably wouldn't have even had the courage to ask that question. Like, especially a lot of women, like, she doesn't have some crazy football background. She said her knowledge is she grew up as a Washington Commanders fan in Bloomfield and, watch football on TV like the rest of us. But Sandberg said, you know what, if you want to be a part of it and you're energetic and you're into it and you're eager to work with the players and everything, like, sure. So he put her up to be approved by the Board of Education. It went through and history was made. And yes, she coaches the wide receivers. I think she works with the linebackers too, like the JV team. And she admitted it was a pretty steep learning curve at first, you're learning how to do
She's diving right in the deep end immediately.
Well, that's the thing. Sandberg did not just kind of be like, well, you're kind of working on it. He's like, you're right in the middle of this
stack of papers, like, get to work.
No, she joked
that. Sounds like that's what she wanted.
Yes. She, like anybody else, you want to be treated as like a regular member of the staff. And she joked that she never thought at this point in her life that she would enjoy Sunday mornings being on Huddle, like breaking down film clips. But yeah, she just took it on eagerly. And Kyle Sandberg has said, the kids respect her because a lot of them knew her as a teacher already. Or they were friends with her daughter. So they knew her they were familiar with her. And certainly a concern when you take that job is, are they going to respect you? Or are they going to listen to you? They respect Sandberg. And when he says, this is my coach, it translates also to that. But, they said in class, she's barked at him a couple of times and they knew like she can be tough, so that, but on the other hand, some of them told me that it's good that she's a mom, that she's a woman sometimes because she, in certain situations, can have a little bit of a softer touch or more of a positive thing where it's like, all right, you messed up, but like keep a positive mindset. It's going to work again. Whereas like, sometimes Sandberg will just, like any coach, just scream in your face. Like, what are you doing?
Not necessarily good cop, bad cop, but a more balanced or help with a balance
in certain
approach.
Situations. Like they didn't want to insinuate that, she's soft. We can get, that's not true. Like she'll get on you if you mess up, but in certain, like she kind of knows how to read certain situations when a kid might need encouragement more than to be like broken down and like screamed at. Which is a huge part of coaching.
Moms on the sideline. So yeah, it's a different, and it certainly seems like a very welcome perspective that is, help the culture of their team.
Yeah. And she's, become a regular part of it. And they've had, a little bit of an up and down season, but they've been solid. They were kind of in the mix in that Liberty division. They had a couple losses, but she's worked really well with that team. And it's funny. She's kind of like, I guess I'm technically like a pioneer in this, but it's almost like when we talked to Holly Lucas earlier in the season, the Pinelands sophomore lineman, who's the first girl to play offensive and defensive line in Shore Conference history, where it's like, we want it to be where this isn't weird. This isn't a story. This is normal. Yeah. That like, there'll be other women on people's staffs, that there'll be girls playing positions besides kicker, especially because more of them play AYF too. So their teammates, like the boys are used to, I've been playing football with that girl since 7th grade, It
strikes me as it's always going to be unique because they're always going to be the minority on the team, but unique is fine, but it's like, this isn't a novelty. Like we're football players and we should be treated as such. So I think the normalcy from that standpoint is great because as we've seen at the, the flag level in high school, there are some girls balling out there. And it's, I've covered, a few of those championship games, and like they're good. They're very well played and fun to watch.
Yeah, and I always wonder when that crossover time is coming, when like a girl who runs like a 4.5 40 or something goes and plays wide receiver on the boys team.
If she's just faster than everyone else and she just getting behind the defense,
not really going to get hit.
80-yard touchdowns or 80-yard touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Sandberg actually did have a female wide receiver in 2018 who he put in the game on senior night and whatever. So that was another short conference moment in history that kind of went under the radar a little bit. But his whole philosophy is, if you're willing to work hard and you're passionate about working with the team and the players, I can find a spot for you. If your football knowledge isn't, Newt Rockney level, that's okay. We can work on that. And, she's really immersed herself in it and worked super hard. And I think a big thing for her was, at this stage of my life, it's rare sometimes that you learn new things, that you challenge yourself with new things. You kind of go back to what's comfortable, what you've always known, where your expertise completely is. And you don't put yourself out there where you might not know what you're doing. You might have to learn.
Yeah, to take that leap of faith I'm sure wasn't easy. It says a lot about her though.
Yeah. And I think she's just going to be the first of many. And I think, like you said too, as you see more of these girls go through flag, maybe play on college, there's even college teams now that are flag teams and or
maybe you see them being a grad assistant.
Yeah, women
like
working
involved.
with college programs, which has happened at Michigan in the last year and Dartmouth and a couple schools in recent years. There's multiple women in the NFL who are assistant coaches now. So you may see a lot more younger women decide when they get out of college, I'm going to go back to high school and coach, or I'm going to try to stay on, like you said, as a grad assistant and start an actual coaching career. This is a viable path for me now. Whereas 5-10 years ago, it was like, you'd get the polite nod. We'll take a look at your resume or whatever, but it was never going to happen. So, the fact that, and I mean, this doesn't really apply to April because obviously she's done a good job and the kids love her, but talking to so many coaches in recent years, finding coaches and assistants is getting harder and harder. Coaches that have young children, a lot of them are like leaving because they're just going to they got to be with their families. And there's just a long grind. It's not a lot of money. The parents these days can be really rough in some situations. So it's not, sometimes it can be a pretty thankless job. So I think that's another part of it. When you have somebody who's that passionate and really does want to be a part of it, more than you're cajoling someone who's on the fence going, come on, coach one more year with us, coach. And the person's like, I don't know if I really want to sign up for this again. So I think that is another factor in broadening the horizons of who can be a coach these days.
For sure. Great stuff. We're going to take a quick break. We come back. We'll talk to Toms River South head coach Matt Martin. The Indians are 4-1. We'll hear how they've been doing it. Back after this on the Varsity Link Coach's Corner. Welcome back to the Varsity Link Coach's Corner on the Shore Sports Network in between weeks 5 and 6 for the Shore Conference football season. It was great to talk with Point Boro head coach Brian Staub earlier, and we'll keep it in Ocean County as we welcome in Toms River South head coach Matt Martin. The Indians off to a 4-1 start. Lost their first game of the season and turned it around quickly. First 4-game winning streak since 2013. A massive game Friday night at Detweiler Stadium. I'm sure it's going to be rocking when they welcome Pinelands to town. Pivotal game for the Liberty Division title, and I'm sure you guys are pretty jacked up for that. So, Matt, fresh off the practice field, thanks for taking some time to join us tonight.
I appreciate you guys having me, and it's a huge game for us. And it's a huge game for Pinelands. We're excited. We're excited for the opportunity. And it's just it's been a little bit of a long haul here, and I'm sure we'll talk about where we were and where we're at now. But it's rewarding, and it's rewarding for the kids to have an opportunity to play in a game like this on Friday night.
Yeah, and the journey, we'll get right to that. I mean, you took over as the head coach last year, first season. You win your first game, I believe, over Toms River East, and then it just didn't go your way from there on. Finished 1-9. Had the lost first game of this season, the Homedale, a lopsided loss. Now we look and we see how well Homedale's playing, but at the time, it's like, okay, what's going on with Toms River South? And then you guys turned it right around, picked up a win, a second win, and now you're 4-1. So what changed there where you guys were able to, move on from that initial loss and go on this run here where you've put yourself in position to win a division championship?
Yeah, I think that we talked about, we made it clear to our kids that, we're aware of the weight that was on their shoulders with a 10-game loss or 10-game losing streak. We didn't try and brush it to the side. We tried to face it. We tell our kids, there's times in life where we have to do hard things. And at that point where you hit 10 games in a row, and a lot of those kids, or a lot of our kids now, experienced those 9 games last year that we lost in a row because we were playing a lot of young kids that returned this year. And Homedale, it's just they're a tremendous team. They're so well coached. They're disciplined. They don't beat themselves, and they put us in a bind in that first game. But then we come back and we stayed in the game in the first half versus Monmouth, and going up to Monmouth, it was questionable whether or not we're going to win or play the game because of the thunderstorms and everything like that. But we were able to get out there. We hung in there and kept it 0-0 in the first half, and then Jimmy Alexander kind of took it over in the second half for us on the offensive side of the ball, and the defense just played phenomenal that night. We got that win, and that goes a long way in the stuff that we preach. Now the kids are able to actually grab onto something and believe it, opposed to just listening to us. And I think that was the first baby step, so to speak, and then to have the ball with just about 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter versus High School East in a tie game and go down the field and score on them. All of a sudden, that following that East game, now the kids, really bought into everything that we've been preaching for, a year and a half, 2 years now. So it's been a long journey, and at times it was tough. But right now, there's no doubt about it. Our kids and the staff are, we're riding the wave of momentum, and we hope to carry it through on Friday night.
Yeah, I spoke to Jimmy Alexander for my column this week on shoresportsnetwork.com, and he said an interesting thing. He said, it's strange to say, but the Homedale game in a weird way helped us. He said last year we beat Toms River East in the first game, and we kind of got a little too full of ourselves, and things didn't go well from there. Whereas this Homedale, humbled us a little bit in a way. But then when we came back and beat Monmouth, it gave us like the biggest boost of adrenaline and energy ever. I mean, that's strange because obviously you'd think, you don't want to lose after all that losing, but it seems like they took that loss to heart and they really rebounded strong from it.
Yeah, and again, like a lot of these kids, went through everything last year, and then to have that happen, I don't want to say it was crushing to us as a staff or us as a program, but I do think from the waking up standpoint, I think we hit rock bottom, and we ended up having kids had to make decisions and choices as to how they were going to play the game, and we as coaches had to make decisions on how we were going to coach the kids and call the games and everything else. So I think Homedale was a little bit of a catalyst to what happened the following week with Monmouth. At least it made everyone reevaluate exactly where we were at, because I think a lot of times last year it was we're young, we're young, and we always fell back on that crutch, and we never really hit rock bottom, unfortunately, and we got stuck with the 1-9 season, and it was our fault. We were a part of it as a staff and as players, but then after Homedale, I think that's when it all kind of hit, and that's when we started the mantra of do hard things, and big team, little me became a bigger part of their lives, and it's definitely we've definitely rebounded from it, and like I said, at this point, we've been playing well in all 3 phases of the game, truthfully, and we're excited for our opportunity Friday night.
You've had it's been a balanced effort, on both sides of the ball, but certainly there's been some guys that have stood out early. You mentioned Jimmy Alexander. I mean, he's a veteran, senior quarterback. He's just been getting done for you. So how about his production and his leadership and what that means to have a senior at the quarterback position, pushing you guys forward here?
Yeah, Jimmy's fought and fought and fought each year, whether it was his sophomore year, he kind of won the position halfway through the season. Last year we had an open quarterback competition, and then this year again we had an open quarterback competition coming off a 1-9 season. And he fought off Gio Torres, who did some real good things for us in the summer. But Jimmy really since the Monmouth game has taken the lead as far as corralling the offense, and then we've put him into a lot of the run game stuff and the run scheme stuff, so we're able to play some 11-on-11 football. In the last couple of weeks, he's shown what he can do as a passer. He's still working hard at that, and the better he becomes as a passer, the even more dynamic will be on offense. He's also a starting Mike linebacker, so I mean, for for any grade kid, but to be the starting quarterback and the starting Mike linebacker and basically quarterback both sides of the ball. It's a lot on his plate. But from the mental side of things, he's as sharp as they come, and he's thankfully been able to stay healthy and just get better each week.
I feel like if you have a quarterback linebacker combo, like you're just a straight up football player. You play anywhere. Like that's
a very like Jackson Memorial, like ace South kind of like division of the quarterback linebacker combo.
No doubt about it. And like I said, we ask a lot of him, and he welcomes the challenge, and that's what's best about Jimmy. Jimmy, he doesn't shy away, he doesn't back down, and he's had some tough games and some tough moments, but it hasn't deterred him from becoming who he is today.
And you've started off the season, you'd only scored 12 points in your first 2 games total, but you've averaged 27 points during these last 3 games. What do you feel like has improved or changed offensively?
We have coaches have done a little bit. We've done a better job of scheming some stuff up where Jimmy's become a bigger part of the run game. Jimmy's gotten has developed himself better as a passer and understands where to go with the ball. But I would say most importantly, like any team, the offensive line play and the offensive line play is greatly improved since the first home del. And we've been able to move some people at the line of scrimmage, and that's opened up holes and allowed Jimmy and Jake Hennahan, our tailback, to really have some impressive games over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, then defensively, it's again, you move past that Homedale game, and since then you guys have locked down. You mentioned you have the great performance against Monmouth to get that first win, and since then it's been more of the same. So what has stood out on that side where you guys are able to just be consistent, shake off the first game and then just get back to playing the way you guys want to play?
Yeah, we're a defense that's between players and scheme. We're built on athleticism, and we weren't disciplined, not nearly enough against Homedale. And I'll be honest, we were undisciplined for most of that game, particularly the second half. We had kids that we had players that wanted to make plays, but they weren't trying to make the plays within their roles of the defense. And over the last four weeks or so, the coaches have done a tremendous job of drilling into them, their roles and how they fit in the run game, and as well as how they fit in the pass game. And our athleticism does help us at times. We're a fast defense. We've been able to create some turnovers and takeaways and put teams back behind the sticks and with negative plays and tackles for a loss and sacks and things like that. So it's just been it's kind of been building. It hasn't been one specific thing, but I do think from a defensive standpoint, our kids are playing confidently, and because they're playing confidently, they're allowing their athleticism to show out.
Now we get to the game. Bob and I love these kind of games.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to get at least a share of a division title on Friday. You guys haven't won one since 2002. They haven't won one since 1987. What do you see out of Pinelands in this challenge coming up? It's weird. I feel like the programs are in similar spots right now. You have a much different history. Toms River South, long, historic, one of the, cornerstone shore conference programs. Pinelands struggled for most of their history, but you guys feel like, even talking to Jimmy Alexander, same thing. We feel like we're on a similar trajectory as they are. What do you see with the challenge coming up against Pinelands Friday night?
Yeah, there's no doubt Coach Tierney has done a tremendous job down there. To end the season the way they did last year, rattling off, multiple wins towards the end of the year, and then to come into this season. And I'll be honest, Toms River South and Pinelands don't really cross paths all too much. As long as I've been at High School South, we played them once, I think, in 2011, but we don't really get to see them too much on tape and things like that. And this year, as I've watched them each week when we get their films, I'm impressed with the physicality. I think they're much more athletic than I expected them to be. And again, they're well coached on both offense and defense by Coach Tierney. Coach Adelizi do a great job of having their kids ready to play. And they're tough. Again, similar to Homedale, that they don't beat themselves too often. They don't make mistakes. They don't get pushed behind the sticks and off schedule on offense. Defensively, they tackle well. They play, they rotate a bunch of defensive linemen that are physical at the point of attack and don't get pushed around. They're going to be a challenge. And I'm happy we're having it at home. I'll be honest with you. Having a home game at Detweiler on a Friday night is different than most places. And hopefully that'll come to benefit us because I know they're going to be ready to play.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, what the Toms River South students and the fans, they are so supportive, some of the best in the Shore Conference. And even if you guys aren't having like an amazing year, they still show up for that. And when you guys are good and compete for championships, like it even goes to another level. So what kind of atmosphere do you expect from the home crowd on Friday night?
It's truly a blessing. Like I said, obviously before I was the head coach here, I was an assistant. I was a player here. I grew up around it. It's just a tremendous place, not only to be the football coach or be a part of the football team. It's a tremendous building to go to school in. Everything that we do at High School South is centered around High School South, and there's a community that is going to support, whether it's football or if you show up to a boys soccer game at 7:00 at night, there's going to be multiple athletes from other teams there willing to cheer them on. And, like I said, you talk to any number of coaches from around the Shore Conference, anytime they visit Detweiler, whether it's their first time or their 20th time, they're always impressed by the student section, the band, and then of course just our parents and longtime supporters. There's still guys that come here on Friday night to watch games that they've been coming here for 25 or 30 years or 40 years just to catch a Friday night football game. And the community atmosphere at High School South is second to none. And we love the support from everyone in the building and even, the surrounding community outside of the school.
Oh, we came up with Joe Adelizi at the Asbury Park Press. I mean, we heard about it. Toms River South thing you can possibly imagine. My big thing too is obviously hanging a banner, winning a division title is great, but I feel like symbolically that's big for you because you had a 1 wing season. You're trying to sell this program. I want more kids out for the team. Mm-hmm. You're in a town where the competition for talent is ruthless.
Yeah.
With everybody
no doubt about it.
To get the best. When you were a player, Toms River South was a top 10 team. They were in the conversation in the overall Shore and all of that. I mean, is that the hope that, yes, you want to win this division and kind of keep moving up in that trajectory to kind of get back to the way it was at one point?
Absolutely. I mean, I think anybody, any coach that would say otherwise would be lying to you. Winning's fun, and having, playing in big games is so much fun. And to have the opportunity this week is going to be tremendous for our players. We have 87 kids on our roster, grades 10 through 12. We only have 12 seniors, and we have a lot of kids coming back next year. So anything that we do this year is certainly going to be part of the seniors' legacy as we move forward, because we hope to carry this momentum in many years to come, not just next year or just the year after that. We want Toms River South to be back on the map, and we want this to be an every week occurrence where every week is a big game, and it hasn't been, but here we have this opportunity, and hopefully we'll take advantage of it so that we are like the Toms River Norths, the Point Boroughs, the Rumpsons of the Shore Conference, because Toms River South was there, and there's no doubt in my mind we can get back there.
How much pride do you take in trying to accomplish that and being the head coach at your alma mater, like Scott said, one of the traditional, powerhouse programs in the Shore? So what does that mean to you to be that coach and have this opportunity to kind of bring the program back, to its usual standing?
I'm tremendously thankful to, Kevin Relman, our principal here, Mr. Sitta, our superintendent, Mr. Gillen, our athletic director, for giving me the opportunity, because I was not only, was I a student and a football player here, but my dad was a student and football player here. My mom was a student here. My grandfather was the head coach here. My uncle was the head coach here. I mean, Toms River South runs in my blood without question. And to be able to be a third generation head football coach at High School South is something that I'm extremely proud of, and most importantly, thankful for, because like I said, everything this school does, I think we do top notch, and the kids, or the kids in the school and the teachers in the building, the community is just great. And to be able to be a part of it, and for them to look to me to try and do the right thing on the football field, it means the world to me.
And this Pinelands game, not only for a division title, also has some state playoff implications. You get a lot of points for beating them. You're right in the mix right now. I think that's got to be another factor too, because let's be honest, when kids go to the high school, they want to play in the state playoffs. You know, that's what you're there for, to at least give your shot at a ring. I know you guys were in it just like 2 years ago, right? But I mean, I feel like this would be a big step forward in that regard too, to have some postseason action for you guys too.
Oh, 100%. And even when we came back here, or I came back here as an assistant in 2011, that first year we kind of got things going on the right track. We didn't finish the way we wanted to, but that second year with Tymir as a sophomore, and Otis Carney and Darius Hart, and the phenomenal players that we had in the program at that point, we got to the playoffs and we lost to a good Lacey team with Tatella at wideout. But it definitely was what propelled us to that 2013 season. And that 2013 season was a memorable one for everyone involved. And we lost a heartbreaking game to Shawnee in the semifinals at home. But it's something, that we talked to our team about. Surely the coaches that were on that staff that remain on my staff, it's something that comes up, every few weeks, something from that team. Remember when? And that was, all, kind of born, I believe, out of that playoff berth versus Lacey the year before. So having the opportunity to hopefully get there this year, there's no doubt that it's a great accomplishment for this year, but it's something that can springboard the program forward for years to come. As we move forward.
There's some schools with nicknames for their football program. I'm a Brickmore alum, the Warlords. The Hitting Indians is one of the best that you could ever imagine. So it's great to see the Hitting Indians back and playing some great football. 4-1, a huge one Friday night. I'm sure it's exactly where you hope to be in week 6. So best of luck to you on Friday night, Matt. Thanks again for taking some time after practice to join us. And just best of luck the rest of the way forward. Great to see Toms River South, back playing some awesome football.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you for shining the spotlight on us. And I'd also just like to thank you guys for everything you're doing for the Shore Conference. I know it's not an easy job, and you guys pour your heart and your minds into it each and every week. And to give our kids, not only at High School South, but throughout the Shore Conference, something to look forward to each day, it really means a lot to us as coaches. Okay, and I know it means a lot to the players, even if they don't say it that often. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for kind words, Matt. I appreciate it. All you have to do is put up with like our random Jets tweets and stuff like that.
I don't know if everyone loves Bob when the new rankings come out every week. But
yeah.
Like, it's hard to make friends.
Hey, I'm an Eagles fan, so I hear it all the time.
Good stuff.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care. Have a great night, guys.
That's Toms River South head coach Matt Martin. The Indians 4-1 and a big one. So, again, like we've said a couple weeks previously, great to feature some teams that are playing well, but not the headline teams. And this gives us an opportunity to focus on them. So the Indians playing well. Obviously, Matt's got a lot of passion. He's not kidding. Toms River South football runs through his blood. Ron Signorino Jr., his uncle. Ron Signorino Sr., his uncle. So, yeah, I mean, he lives and breathes South football.
And he was a part of it when they were a staple in the
he
top
knows
10.
what it takes. Yeah.
And, it's like he's not envisioning something that he hasn't seen before. He was part of it as a player. And like he said, those Tymir Berry teams and those other teams, they were right in the mix. Those were some of the most exciting teams in the Shore Conference those years. Barry went on to have a great career at Monmouth University. But yeah, it's good to see them. I mean, that's kind of what a lot of these realignments are in these divisions, is to give programs a chance to get back on solid ground, start building back up, and then, hopefully keep moving up divisions and get to that point where you are a top 10. I always look at Marlboro, the trajectory they've had, where they're years.
They're kind of the poster child for this divisional structure where the opportunity will be there for you to, win games against light competition and then move up as you get better.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. For so many years, they were in these impossible divisions where there were nowhere they're going to win. Like, they were playing a bunch of teams, big teams, their schools. Some coaches will still argue, hey, if you can't beat teams the same size as your school, like, that's your problem.
Yes.
But for competitive balance and for all of that, I think they did the right thing as far as, they moved them down a little bit, but look at what they've done. Mm-hmm. Now they are beating these schools, they are beating the Manalappins. They are beating teams that they used to beat before. Now they're going to go toe to toe with Jackson Memorial for a division title. So I think that is kind of providing the blueprint for some of these other teams. Homedale is another one, I think. The winner of this Liberty Division game.
Yeah.
That this is how you do it. And because you build so much enthusiasm with your program, you start maybe keeping kids home that don't go to a non-public school. You start getting bigger numbers to have more depth. So they're on their way. But this Friday is a huge one because for John Tierney and for Matt Martin, you're trying to sell your program, right? You're trying to get more kids to play. You're trying to
take that next step.
Playing football is fun at our school. We win. You want to be a part of it. And having an actual concrete championship to show for that is a big selling point.
It's a huge building block. So just looking ahead to week 6 real quick, the 2 big games, obviously we touched on Tom's over South Pinelands Friday night at Detweiler Stadium. I'll be there. I'll also be in Marlboro up on Route 79 on Saturday. Jackson Memorial will take the trip up. 2 5-0 teams. So the O must go, as the saying goes. And the winner of that game, for all intents and purposes, is probably going to be that Freedom Division champion.
Yeah, the winner clinches no worse than a tie and would be heavily favored in any other game that they have left, in that division. So it's strength on strength. Like I said, it's 2 teams. They love to pound the ball. They both have really good running backs. Matt Cassidy just coming off a 200-yard game from Marlboro. Jonah Glenn come off a 275-yard game for Jackson Memorial. He's one of the new supernova stars of the Shore Conference this year in his first varsity season. 2 great defenses that haven't really been scored on this year. I don't think either one of them has allowed more than 20 points in a game.
I don't believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So something has to give in that regard. Jaden Hernandez and Albert Alessandro, 2 big X factors for Jackson as far as playmakers in the passing game, whereas Marlboro has been primarily running, defense, kill the clock. Their quarterback did get hurt last week. Braden Klein left the game last week with an injury. So that's a factor.
They're going to keep that close to the best.
That'll be the same thing. He's day to day because they want the other team to spend the whole week preparing for somebody, whether he may not play or not. But for Marlboro, this is the hugest thing because they haven't won a division title since 1994. Jackson won last year.
And just you're playing a traditional powerhouse juggernaut program in Jackson, which I believe 5 sectional titles all time. So everyone knows about the Jaguars. So within the context of this season, it's huge, but just overall for the program,
it's a landmark win if you get it. The real question is, can anyone stop Jonah Glenn? I mean, he's been unstoppable. I mean, no one's even come close to holding him under 100 yards.
No, I think his season low was the 126 he had at some point. So, I mean, he's been, like I said,
had multiple 200-yard games. He averages 9.1 yards.
I just copy the line that says Jackson Memorial sophomore Jonah Glenn set a new career high with, and then just fill in the new number.
Yeah.
Basically, he's been doing that every other week.
That's a big credit to Jackson's offensive line.
Yeah.
The best Jackson teams have big, physical, mean,
just gnarly guys up
lines.
Front.
Yeah. And that seems to certainly be the case again this year. So it could be a vintage year for Jackson, and Marlboro's trying to get in the way of that. And their best season ever was 10-1, their only state championship, 1994. You get this win.
Is that the Dan Klecko team?
No, that was 99. They didn't make the playoffs.
Okay.
94 was, that was like the fall after I graduated from high school. So that's how long ago that was. I think that for them, this would be to show we are really for real. This is not like some fluky Cinderella, like we beat a good team here or there. And even if they just really give them a game, if they take them right to the end, it's a 4th quarter game, somebody scores with 5 minutes left, just to show that we belong among this level of teams. Jackson actually has been used to playing close games all year. I feel like they've played a decent amount of close games.
They've had a couple, I mean, the Manalapan one certainly in overtime, even the Howell game where they had to, pull one out at the end. So
they are coming off their best game of the season. They beat Brick 33-13, a Brick defense that hadn't given up a whole lot all year. And Glenn destroyed them and almost put 300 yards on them. So they're coming in flying high. 2 good. And then it's worth mentioning, Homedale can clinch no worse than a tie for its division title with a win over Ocean.
Yes. And I believe Brick Memorial can do the same. They're at Freehold Boro Saturday afternoon matinee. So only 2 games on Saturday. That's one of them. So some implications in that game. And then, of course, the obligatory American Division schedule. It just shows how crazy that division is when it's there's a couple top 5, 6 matchups. We're not really focusing on that this week. You have Rumson against Donovan Catholic, and then Middletown South Red Bank Catholic, which is crazy because in most years, like that's like stop the presses. We are completely focusing on them. And while they're still, really good matchups, the way that division has broken out, they're not as critical as some of these other ones, which for us, we like that because we like to be able to spread it around and see.
Yeah, we always joke that the American division could have its own beat writer,
yeah.
like somebody who just covers like the top games in that division every week. Certainly, Rumson's trying to pull it together after 2 tough losses to 2 really good teams, RBC and Point Boro, and to have to do that against Donovan Catholic and their defense, and they're coming off mad after losing to St. Joe's Montvale.
They're going to be ornery.
Yeah, so that's a tough one. Middletown South RBC could get interesting in the sense that South is finally pretty much at full power again with all of their injured stars back.
And they've played really well defensively all year. I know Thomas North didn't have Micah Ford in the game they played, but that was a 7-7 game going into the fourth quarter. So they certainly have the defensive pieces. They have, one of the best, if not the best defensive player in the Shore. I mean, he's the reigning defensive player of the year, Colin Gallagher, who's just a monster.
But RBC counters with probably this year's favorite for defensive player.
Yeah, Davin Bruton's pretty good too. He's been returning interceptions left and right.
I mean, no Shore Conference team has been really able to do anything against RBC's defense.
That's the thing. Their defense has been unbelievable. And you even go back to that week 0 game, like Bergen Catholic scored 24 points, but you were there. It wasn't easy for them. And a lot of their stars who are used to just kind of running wild were jammed up a lot.
Yeah, they did a real nice job against their run game. One run get loose here for 30 yards and then like got beat over the top on one like sort of miscommunication. But it wasn't like Bergen Catholic was just going up and down the field on them at will, which they were not. So if you can, jam up a team like that, you certainly have the talent against most other teams to just completely shut them down. And the tough thing for South going into this game is it's really, really hard to be one-dimensional and beat RBC. Like even Bergen Catholic couldn't just line up and run everybody.
You're not going to do it.
No. So they're going to have to do something in the passing game or it's going to be a tough night. And the scary part about that is Elijah Ross is now one of the best.
Emmanuel
Ross is now one of the best cornerbacks in like the Shore, maybe the state. So he's going to line up against your top wideout. And that guy's maybe going to disappear for the rest of the game. So it's
puts him in witness protection.
Yeah, and you have Bruton back there and Luke Wassif and a big defensive
Jamie Guttridge had a really big game against Seton Hall Prep. So
Portella up front on the defensive line. They're just so stacked. It's tough for South. The one positive of these next 2 games. They play
RBC and then Donovan Catholic.
Yeah, which is really tough. But
at least they'll
come
with the wheelbarrow
into the playoffs. You just face 2 teams that are better than any team you're going to see in your bracket.
Yeah, the only team that could even approach,
mainland.
Yeah, I mean, Millville is in there too. Yeah. But the point is, like, you're not. It's a short list of teams that can approach the talent level, and then just how good they are as a team. In the
way South season
bracket
has gone. You just want to get through those games with all your star players intact.
Yeah.
They got wiped by the injury bug early in the year where guys were just dropping right and left at important positions and key players. But that's life in the American division.
Yeah, it's a grind to say the least. So you can check all that out. We'll have our picks, the schedule, certainly the scoreboard, all that stuff be up this weekend. Looking forward to an interesting slate of week 6 games. Thanks again to our guest, Point Boro head coach Brian Staub, Toms River South head coach Matt Martin. Of course, our sponsor each and every week, Varsity Link. It's the Athletes Social Media Network. Check them out at varsitylink.com. Download the app on the App Store and the Google Play Store. That'll do it for us. For Scott Stump, I'm Bob Batters. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again next week on the Varsity Link Coach's Corner.